before I leave. And okay, hold on. Boom. And boom. And boom. There it is. Okay. Now those folks are going to be coming back on, but you're absolutely right. If I guess I should be more trusting, but there's a part of me that maybe it's just kind of old school. You don't like to leave stuff running that you're not watching. Here I am, I'm in the office, this office little studio thing. But if I leave something running and starts a fire, then nobody's here. Hopefully it burns down as my fault. Now that's probably maybe not something that you should think much about and all that, but not very likely. But that's part of the reason, James, why I don't just leave the computers running and all that. But given what happened, I may just end up doing it, just leaving it, experimenting, seeing what happens, and not just simply cutting everything off when I leave here late at night. So, but that was different. I'll check that after the broadcast is over. So, but everything's an experience, and I thank you for again coming in and those comments. And I'm still looking for that brave soul who is out there listening, who will click on the link on the We page at username THEWE123, and that's basically for the people on that side, because the people on this side, that's where you are right now. But the people on this side are kind of getting it from other pages that I control, and so they're not at the We necessarily, but I'm trying to get everybody over to the We because that's where I'll be able to see your comment, and if you're at the We123. Then we can engage in that split screen directly. Because in the old days, when you have talk radio, people would call in and they would talk. You would be able to hear them. If you're listening to the radio, you'd be able to hear their exchange. Well, these days with social media, not only can you hear, but you can see. So if you're somewhere sitting on the bus, you look at what we're doing, you can just click on that link. And while you're taking that bus ride, just put your earphones in so you don't disturb too many folks, and we'll just chop it up. Or if you're someone who is doing something at work and you're able to kind of sit and watch us, or whatever the situation may be, we're more than happy to kind of bring you on board and get you out there, and we'll see what'll happen is. And if you were watching a broadcast yesterday, you can kind of look at it. The screen will split, and I got the capacity to put 2 people on, so it'll be a screen split with 3 people, and then we can just chop it up a little bit and kind of go back and forth. So I'm kind of excited to see who's going to be the first, who's going to be that brave soul who I don't know, who's going to come in there and try this technology out, because you just that's really what we're hoping. A morning two-way talk with mornings with Nate, and as I talk about issues, whether it's the flu or other things that are on my mind that I experienced during the day, or that I think might be interesting, we can do that. But we can also talk about what you're interested in. And that's what we're looking to do. The other day, I was kind of talking a little bit about, in things like insurance or getting an attorney and stuff, marijuana. I talk, because just like everything else, when people were asking me about marijuana stocks, the first thing I do is what? Take a course. That is the first thing I do. And so I took the Safe Access Program courses that you hear a lot about. And in Maryland, the way it works, and it may work at your part of the country too, but anybody wants to work in the Maryland marijuana industry, you've got to take at least a core level course. And the highest level is what we call auditor within the marijuana industry. So if you're going to work in the marijuana industry, the highest level is auditor. And there are like 4 different types of certifications you could have. Well, you can have one that deals with the growers, the people who are growing marijuana and going in and dealing with them. You could have a registration with the processors, the people who are taking the plants and processing them. You could have one with dispensaries where you actually grow, the public can go in and buy it. And you can have one with the labs that go in and test. Well, given my nature, and wanting to make sure that before I said anything to anybody about something, what my opinion might be about something, I took them all. So I'm actually in Maryland certified in all four areas at what they call the auditor level. Now, it's not that I anticipate ever getting a job working in the marijuana industry, but when we talk about marijuana stocks and whether a person ought to buy them, or we talk about the marijuana industry, I approach it from a perspective of both what I believe, looking at the company and the company's financial and the industries, but also from a training perspective. So, again, Mr. Earl, if you're out there, your comment on, the situation with reading books, that's how I kind of end up where I'm at. I've got my cousin James here. He says here, let me put it, he says, research property in Cherry Hill, which is an area of Baltimore where he grew up and where, in a sense, I grew up, between Emerson Village and Cherry Hill, where we have many relatives. And I'll do that. I'll take a look because I'm interested. Cherry Hill is kind of a waterfront community. In fact, I think I'll be out that way for something soon. But, and by the way, it's interesting to me that James, I know, is in Virginia, but he's asking about something in Maryland, which is what I like. I mean, I like the fact that this broadcast is reaching people all over the world and that we can, address questions wherever you might be. So I'm hoping that more of you will send questions in and we can kind of chop it up a little bit. And I'll certainly get back to James as I look into what's happening with property values in Cherry Hill and because I am kind of interested in it as well, because we've got in Baltimore, we got the good parts of Baltimore, and we got the parts that, have maybe earned us the reputation for that, all the murders and stuff. So, there are various parts, various things that are happening in Baltimore that have gotten us in the news. So, yeah. So, when you look though at, in my mind, just to take this in a whole another direction and maybe try to spark a little controversy out there and spark a little discussion. What do you guys think about the fact that North Korea is actually going to send a team to the Olympics? Now, why would they do that? I mean, they've kind of been not participating in the Olympics for a little while, and now they're going to send a team there. It is a signal that I think, that they're trying to become more traditional, more part of the League of Nations, so to speak, that they'll do what nations do. And maybe also it's a sign when you can do something like that despite all these sanctions and all the stuff that we're supposed to be tightening up and making them squeeze on them and making them feel like, they better agree or we're going to squeeze them out of existence. Well, maybe they're not doing so bad that they can afford, despite all these sanctions, despite all this stuff, to send a team to the Olympics, that we got enough extra money that we can kind of send a team there and participate the same way everybody else is. It's a sign to the world that whatever you're supposedly doing to squeeze us into getting rid of our nuclear weapons, that maybe it's not working because we got this extra that we can kind of do this and we want to at least symbolically, whether it hurts us to do it, whether it's a struggle to do it, we don't know, but it's that signal that we can do it and do plan to do it. Who knows how the athletes will do, but we will be there. But anybody have any opinions out there on that? And that I'm more than happy to share, especially one of those opinions that, again, that brave soul who will click on that link and join me. Maybe even join me and Jacob later when Jacob comes on. I may have a few questions for him when that happens. So I'm hoping that people will kind of think through issues like what's happening in North Korea. We actually have friends over there in South Korea, and I'm hopeful that they are listening to this broadcast. And feel free. I'm not quite sure what time it is right now in South Korea, but if you happen to be up and you happen to be seeing this broadcast one way or the other, my hope is that you would come on in and express your opinion on what's happening over there, maybe talk a little bit about it. The other thing we're talking about, just speaking of other places, is maybe putting a travel kind of content out there. I have a lot of friends and people that I see on Facebook that are traveling all over the world. Yeah, I'm very interested to hear about your travels, maybe share your experiences with others to both inform them and maybe to inspire them to do the same thing. We're also thinking about some content that would involve restaurants. I have a lot of friends that don't believe in cooking. They eat out at restaurants all the time. I mean, they are members of all the clubs and so on. Well, I'm a member of a bunch of clubs. I like getting discounts, so I join a lot of different clubs because I don't believe in paying more for stuff than I have to. There's nothing better to me, and maybe that's how it ended up this way with all this weight, than a buy one, get one free. That is where I am at. I'm buy one, get one free. So, by the way, Joseph, if you can see the broadcast, if you're listening, I see you. You're in the waiting. You're in the green room. I'm going to bring you in at about 7. I'm looking at the clock here. At least on. Look on my phone, my cell phone. It says 7. On the computer, it says 6:54. So I'm going to go with 7. I'm going to bring you in. So look at that. Look at here. You are now on the split screen. Jacob, say something so I can see if I can hear you. Actually, I cannot hear you. That is not what we call a good sign. So, that was an issue yesterday that I thought we had solved. So, Jake, is there anything on you're speaking into your smartphone? Okay. And on real time basis, I cannot hear you, but the way we dealt, and I thought we had dealt with that yesterday with this issue, which is the reason I'm wearing these earplugs, because that was the solution yesterday. And unfortunately, there is nothing really that can be done about it right now, other than to kind of go on with the program. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, Jason. This is always how we did it yesterday, because there is really a time lag, 10-second time lag between you and I speaking and it actually ending up on the internet. So I can start the show on my phone and kind of. So now, oh man, that's So that I'm going to turn that down a little bit. And I am just incredible. I thought that we had solved this particular issue of not being able to hear, because actually the only way for me to experiment with this, and now I know next time I'm going to bring people on earlier. So, I can kind of experiment a little bit with it. But you know what, Jacob, although I can't hear you, everybody else can hear you. Yeah, that's the thing that we found out about. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question, and just we're going to deal with signals. And when you're done answering the question, maybe you can give a thumbs up, and then I'll ask you another question since I can't really see you at this moment. Now, Jacob, excuse me, would you talk a little bit about your background and what has led you to being in Boston right now? Oh, you know what? I'm not the only one. Hold up for a second. I've just got a note that says that they can't hear you. That out there in the public, they can see you, but they cannot hear you. You don't have your phone muted, do you? And the volume's up. Volume's up. And they're saying here that, and I got another comment, to check your mute button. Are you looking good? That's okay. Yeah, because what they're saying, the folks are saying, is they cannot hear you. Okay. Yeah, you're going to try to come back in again. Oops. Every day an adventure. Every day an adventure on the live broadcast. Oops. I had you there. Oh, I see. He just gave me a little note. Let's try another day. Okay, we can do that. We can try another day. So I got that word, Jacob. We'll try another day. Okay. Thanks a lot. Now, given that technology snafu, is there anyone out there who is willing to come on to test out? Oh, there you go, Jason. I mean, you try another day. You're right back. Are you back? Say something now. Can you hear me? Because we can see you, but I guess for some reason cannot hear you. And I don't know if that's on my end or not. You know, maybe there's someone out there, someone else out there who will be brave enough to come in, and we can test it out to see if it's me or if it is Jacob. But Jacob, wow, and really, quite frankly, the only way I would have, nope, still can't. They're saying they still can't hear you. The folks that I see out there. So maybe it's kind of, quite frankly, it's on my end. I can't hear you. I guess I've been talking for over an hour, so they can still hear me. We can maybe try another day. Maybe try again tomorrow. If your schedule is open there, Jacob, we can just try this again tomorrow. But what I'll do is I'll reach out to you when the broadcast is over, and we can kind of test it a little bit to kind of roll through it. Maybe that's something I should look to do anyway, as I have guests to kind of test it out a little bit to make sure that we're all able to hear each other and stuff like that. So again, one more thing for the checklist, as we kind of take this thing on the road. Yes, I got you. Yes, just try another day. Hope we can work it out. Yeah, thank you, Jacob, because what you've done in coming on, I know you've got a tremendously interesting story that folks here would be interested in. But at the same time, you've helped us kind of explore and find out that there's some things some kinks that we need to work out. As we get more and more people involved in a larger and larger following. So. Thank you, Jacob. It was good to see your face too. I certainly hadn't seen you in a long time, and certainly good to see you. So, in the spirit of the show must go on, let's just continue talking about some of the issues that are coming up right now. We are this whole two-way talk format that we are launching here is something that by bringing on guests and use the technology that you saw, Jacob was up in Boston, and we're able to kind of bring him in and to eventually we'll be able to hear what he has to say or hear what others have to say. But I'm hoping I can put another brave soul on the spot to kind of click in and test out the whole split screen technology. I'm going to have to set somebody up because to call in so we can test this bad boy out. Yesterday. We corrected a little glitch, and we moved forward with it after the program was over, and everything was working fine. So I was really looking forward today to talking to Jacob and hearing all of what he has to say. I'm going to reach back to him and see what we can do to bring him back on board. And because the two-way talk format is really the direction that we're hoping to go in on the show. I was talking to a friend the other day who was in a car accident, and they were asking me a little bit about attorneys and how things work. And for the most part, I know you guys see these ads on TV that advertise that a person will be your accident attorney. They're pretty numerous, and what happens. And I wanted to share this because what happens in the accident world, once you have a car accident, is kind of pretty routine. When a person has a car accident, you get sent to normally some type of physical therapist, and that physical therapist will work with you a little while, and he'll be sending different bills to your attorney. He'll usually send an initial bill, an intermediate bill, and a final bill. And on that final bill, what happens is your attorney will take that packet of information, and the medical bills and any other bills related to your accident. Then he sends it. Then he puts together a package, and usually that package, whatever those expenses come to, he'll multiply that times some multiple, usually 3 times, and then he will send that off to the insurance company. So let's say, for instance, you had $5,000 worth of legal bills and not legal bills, but health bills and bills related to your accident. Well, your attorney most likely will just automatically, send off $15,000 in a request to the insurance company. And then the insurance company starts to negotiate with your attorney. It's a rare case that you send off $15,000 and you get $15,000. I quite frankly have never seen that. And certainly I've never seen you get more than what you ask for. Usually the insurance companies have an idea based on the level of injury that you have and the time you spent with the physical therapist. If you're one of these folks that say, I don't want to go into the physical therapist, I don't want to do that, well, you're not going to get what they call the pain and suffering money, because over and above your expenses that are submitted, you're supposed to get something called pain and suffering money. And that pain and suffering money is what is actually going to go in your pocket after the bills are done. So let's say, for instance, you ask for $15,000. The insurance company says, we're only going to give you 10. Well, right off the bat, your lawyer is going to take a third of that. So he's going to take $3,300. And then you're going to pay $5,000, let's say, to your medical bills. And that balance of roughly $1,700 is what actually goes in your pocket. And that's routine. It's gotten to be kind of automated. These attorneys that give you the impression that, hey, I'm going to fight for you so you can get the highest amount of money for your accident. We're going to, give you the representation you deserve. That's kind of fanciful. They pretty much, after you leave, they take you through the process of going through the forms. Oftentimes, the only time they even speak to the insurance company is when the insurance company has all the information and they start to negotiate. And then they pretty much know what they're going to be able to get, and they get it. And sometimes the insurance company will add a little bit to it, depending on the relationship with the lawyer. And from that, a person ends up with whatever the amount of money is that they're going to get. So does it make a difference which lawyer you go to if you have an accident? From what my experience has been, I don't think so. Because attorneys normally, there's this guy here locally, and he drives a Bentley in his commercial, and he gives the impression that, hey, I'm really going to fight for you and all. But you got limited leverage, that the insurance company, they know based on the type of injury you have, how much money you ballpark ought to get. And the experience has been, if a person goes to court, you actually end up with less money. Because judges are pretty tough on the amount of money that they give for accidents. So most lawyers know that they can do better with the insurance company negotiating. The only time really they go to court, my experience has been, is if the insurance company says this is like totally bogus, we're not going to pay you anything. So there's no downside then in going to court and seeing if you can get something. If the insurance company, for whatever reason, has kind of hardwalled you and said that, hey, we don't think you're worthy of getting a dime, then there's no reason for you not to go to court to kind of go after it. But other than that, the insurance company is going to give the amount of money that, based on hundreds and thousands of accidents of people who had similar type injuries, that they paid a certain type of money, and that's kind of the court defense. If they they'll show the similar accidents, what they paid, and they're paying you somewhere within there, and so therefore it's fair, and that's what you'll get. I've seen clients think that, I've had this car accident, and now, I'm going to become rich. That, boy, these folks are going to pay, that I've had this accident. Now, the only time, quite frankly, that I've seen serious money be made from a car accident is it left the person in a position they weren't even able to benefit from the money. I was involved in a case that was in Alabama from the investment perspective. And the case involved a person who was driving in a car, and he was rear-ended by a U-Haul truck. And when that U-Haul truck hit him, it put him in a coma. And so U-Haul was sued, and they ended up, because the guy was in a coma and it looked like he was going to stay in a coma, they ended up settling for $6 million. So where I came in was, the family brought me in because they wanted to invest the money. The court wanted to appoint someone. Basically, we talked about what the investment plan was going to be, and that's where I came into it. But it was interesting. The guy never woke up from the coma. Yeah, and it was kind of funny. His wife stayed married to him, even though he was in a coma. But she lived her life. That's kind of a complex situation. She lived her life and ended up with several, expanded family, several more children, and so on and so forth during the time. And he eventually passed. But the whole issue of having an accident and getting rich is something that normally, that I just has not been my experience that I've seen. So when I got asked that question the other day about, what should we settle for and whether this guy was a good guy or a bad guy as far as an attorney standpoint, it really breaks down to who you're comfortable with. Who you're comfortable with and who you think that you get along with, because from the point of view of what that attorney is going to do, it's going to be routine. And if he says, hey, people know me and they fear me, they know I'll, get tough on them. I mean, these insurance companies don't fear an individual attorney. These major multi-billion, almost $1 trillion insurance companies, they don't fear some local guy. So that's just a whole lot of talk. But if it makes you feel more comfortable that this guy is giving you those kind of good words, then maybe that's something that you can do. The Earl is saying here, next generation investment book for kids. Earlier we were kind of talking about there's a series of books that's out there that are for kids to talk about entrepreneurship, that talk about some investment topics that are out there. And I think the title is Can You See Me? I think it's a line of books called Can You See Me or something to that effect. I'll try to look into that more, Mr. Earl, and maybe kind of bring maybe some of those books here. We can kind of chew the fat on them, and if people are interested in them, we can find a way to make them easily available to them. But I believe in starting kids out early investing. A lot of you know me, and you know me from the Chapman Company and all the Chapman Company stuff. And the Chapman Company was a publicly traded company, and I've taken several companies public. And so I guess my kids had the advantage of growing up with somebody who believed in investing. I would, when they were young, they used to have these Wall Street camps that I would put them in probably before their time. But, that kind of thing really puts you in the mind of that. First of all, you don't have any fear of investing. And maybe that's something that we ought to think a little bit more about, some type of Wall Street camp or something that we do on air, or maybe to create some type of product where we do that, because I think that would be interesting. I know that, that given my background and probably the background of others, that they would be interested in, and along with what you had suggested, Mr. Earl, the getting some books that would support that would have children investing. I know there was one book that was pretty interesting. I don't really remember the title, but this guy, young kid, had created a lemonade stand, and he was trying to make some money with it, and he had to fight off bullies and other people, naysayers and all that, to ultimately become successful. And I thought, just when I skimmed the book, that it was very good. kind of my favorite children's book and what I used to give out to people who were salespeople. Well, I used to give out Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss, because I think Green Eggs and Ham was one of the greatest sales books ever created. In the book Green Eggs and Ham, if for you guys who never read it or don't remember it, Dr. Seuss had this character called Sam I Am, and he's trying to convince this other person to buy and taste, and not even buy, but just to taste some green eggs and ham. And the guy who he's trying to convince basically says, Sam, I don't like you, and I don't like those green eggs and ham. See, to me, that's when the sales function kind of comes in. When the guy says, I don't like you, and I don't like your product. Well, if you believe it's something the guy ought to really know about, it's just a product the person ought to know, then you got to go into your Sam I Am mode, because that's when it's time to sell. When you walk in, and guys have heard me say it, you walk in, you say, hey, hello, here's my product. Are you interested in yours? The guy says, yes, very interested. Here's my check. To me, that's not really selling. And I remember, well, because of my history in the investment business, I had to kind of, you might say, desegregate a lot of places in this country, because I was on the road quite a bit, especially in the South. And I remember when I was down in Mississippi, and we were one of the first firms of our type to do business with the Mississippi State Retirement System, Mississippi Investment Board, stuff like that. But when I first went down there and I met the executive director, he was just very clear that he just was very happy, and he just said it. He didn't do business with black people, and I could have been taken aback by that. But at that point, the nature, I felt like I was time to go into my Sam I Am role. This guy, he cracked my knuckles here because this guy's going to be a challenge, and let me kind of go into it. So, we basically talked, and you sell both what they say, the facts plus the sizzle. And at the end of it, he had kind of been open to start a relationship with me, and it's kind of interesting, those are what I call my Sam I Am moments. When a guy says something to you like that would normally knock you off your square, that he might say something and maybe even offend you. And I often say, especially when I'm in my sales role, my mode, I'm a fairly hard person to offend, because I really got what I'm trying to accomplish in mind. And I pretty much stay fixated on that. And a lot of stuff just goes over my head. And, and so we kind of home down into it. So when Mr. Earl's talking about investment books, where we got that? Well, James here, he says, Sam I Am, that's a good one. I'm going to use it. I strongly recommend it, because as I said, Sam I Am, when that guy said, Sam, I don't like you and I don't like your product, time to sell. Okay, I see. All right. Time to sell. Time to kind of take off, the baby tools or whatever you have. And, this is kind of guy, all the little sales books you used to read on overcoming objections and this and that. It's time to go to work. And at least that's how I used to see it. I didn't see it as something where someone was talking about me personally or taking it personally. I saw it was a chance to really put into effect a lot of the other things that we used to talk about from the sales perspective and sales training. Because again, when I talk about sales, this is kind of, the more I think about it, I've kind of always been this way. When you say, well, you need to sell something, back in those days, it wasn't easy to take a course. I'd buy a book or several books. I'd start reading, sales techniques, the old Tom Hopkins books, back in the day, and, kind of what are the techniques that I need to employ to kind of get to where I want to go, and at the end, there's nothing more pleasurable than to take a guy who's just started off being so totally opposite, totally offended, or however it might be. He's just absolutely no way going to, give you a chance to buy or to give you a chance, and seeing that turnaround in a way that he thanks you, which is what happened in the Green Eggs and Ham book. With Sam I Am, the guy says at the end of the book, he says, you know what? Sam kind of convinces the guy that, you should try it. And the guy says, okay, this almost just to get you out of the way. I'm going to try this green eggs and ham. He tries it. And the guy says, you know what? I think I like green eggs and ham. And you know what? Even more, I think I like you, Sam I Am. Well, that's a pleasure moment when you're selling something. That the guy finally appreciates that, based on my analysis of your situation, this is the product that you need. And he says, thank you, because I was resistant. I didn't think this would be helpful to me. You've shown me that these are things, the attributes that really would help me with what I'm trying to do. And I thank you and I appreciate it. And some people, hey, I apologize. I was so tough on you. But, and I've had countless situations like that, you go in and you got these hardcores and they say everything. Like I said, you go down to Mississippi and the guy that straight up tells me, I don't do business with black people. He had never even seen anybody come through the door. I remember, I was at Peat Marwick Mitchell, one of the largest public accounting firms in the world. I was a CPA, among other things, in my former life, and I have a pretty good understanding of accounting and how things go to work. But I remember I went to work for this old line investment banking firm in Baltimore. It's called Ferris Baker Watts, and our firm used to audit them. And I used to work for Peat Marwick. We used to go in and do their audit of their financial statements, and so. One day I'm over there and I'm just doing my thing. I'm a young staffer. I'm just out of college. I got my CPA and stuff. And one of the managing partner, Sewell Watts, I think the third or something, he saw me. He calls back over to the company. He says, I only want the best people on my account. He's thinking that because I'm black, that I'm not the best. Now, mind you, for those of you who know me out there, I graduated college in 2.5 years. Set a couple of academic records. I was president of student government. I've double majored in economics and political science, minor in accounting. What is Sewell Watts, show me your resume. Plus, I passed the CPA exam, one of the toughest exams I passed. And so he speaks to this partner, Art Melman. I'll never forget it. And Art says to him, at Peat Marwick, we only hire the best. And that was it, and refused to take me off the account. And that was kind of the last that I heard of it. I did my thing over there, and they eventually got into some financial difficulty, the firm, and I believe they were absorbed by somebody else. They don't even exist anymore. But I still remember that, even though I was a young man in my 20s when that kind of thing happened. What do you say here? There's James is saying. It is a lesson of persistence without being pushy. And you're absolutely right. Because a lot of times, if I'm really into it, like I was down in Mississippi, I was kind of assessing the guy and you're kind of assessing the techniques that might work. I was, at the end, I was almost spiritual. I said, look, souls are asking for me for us to develop this relationship. I'm like blind Bartimaeus at the well. I'm crying out for this. And there's souls of black folks who are crying out. What do we have to do to, it's just blind Bartimaeus at the well cried out. What do we have to do to be saved? I'm crying out right now. What do we have to do this business? Now, it's half comical, but it was half, kind of effective. And basically, it worked. I think he even looked at me, he was like, by the time I got done, because I didn't start off with that was like the crescendo. When I got to the end, the folks are crying out. Souls of dead Mississippians are crying out like blind Bartimaeus at the well. And in the Bible, Christian Bible, blind Bartimaeus is in the well, at the well, wanting to get his sight and stuff. What do I have to do to be saved? And I'm not making any fun of the gospel or anything like that, but the truth was, I kind of thought that might be effective, and that kind of sales touch. A lot of times, I'm cold serious, and I'm just going through the facts, and that's what people want. They want the facts. But in his case, I thought at the end of it, he might give me some applause. But what actually happened was at the end, I got the business. He called me boy. He said, boy. And I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm going, boy, you must have seen me in the shower when the water was very cold. You see a boy here. But I let it go, I let it go. And because I'm there to sell something, And he said, yeah, I think we're going to give you a try. And that was it. That's why now at that point I'm ready to go, because nothing good happens after the client says, okay, you keep talking, you're going to talk yourself out of a sale. So, that is, what happened down that way. I'll never forget it. But the same thing, Alabama, Mississippi, I went all throughout the South, and back in those days. And so folks know that, and some of the history of what it took, some of the warriors who were with me at that time, some of the dangers that we went through. I'm writing a book now on the Chapman Company, and kind of finished the first edition of it. Now it has to be edited, the first draft. That's where I was looking for, the first draft of it. And a lot of these stories I kind of talk about in the book and other things of what happened. Now things look to be so routine. It's kind of like when I mentioned to you that I used to come on television and I used to talk about Wall Street and all that. And back then it was kind of a shock to see somebody like me coming on TV talking about, investments and so on. But now it's fairly routine. That I see it, and it's just no one knows, how kind of it evolved to this point. And it's kind of interesting. So I talk about some of that stuff in the Chapman Company book, of how we built it and what the importance of it was. And because my hope is that those of you who are out there who are happy to be entrepreneurs, that you guys are going to, pick up on that, and maybe there'll be some more public companies. Now I've got Daisy. Daisy says, so sad to say, I think the South is still that way in 2018. Well, I like to think, the guy's name was Eddie Van Diver, and I'm not even sure he's still alive. He was the executive director of the Mississippi Retirement System. And I like to think, I know for a fact he's not the same guy. He's, they've got a new executive director. So I like to think when times change, it's kind of like, guess who's coming to dinner, when the Sidney Poitier character says to his father that things won't change until people like you die, and the weight of all this stuff, just dies with you. And I like to think that maybe, as an old, now having gotten some years myself, that so many of these guys that were kind of in the way with, kind of negative attitudes, that they're kind of in the grave or just simply off the scene, and that more progressive people are in the South and other places that are more open to just anybody who comes in with the best deal. Because the whole thing, what really led me into going into my sales pitch is because I had, when I was talking to him, it was kind of interesting because I had said to him that in order to earn his brokerage business, I would do it for nothing. And he said, price is not the issue. And that's when he went into the whole race thing. And so, okay, all right, I can dig it. All right, time to crack the knuckles and go straight into it, because if price is not the issue, we need to come in another direction. And so that's what I did. And then ultimately, not only did he do business with me, but he certainly paid me a fair price, and we did business for years. And I'm proud to say that, I like the fact that, that he was willing to change. That maybe the history was we met at the time, and the things kind of happened in such a way that allowed him to maybe somewhere in his heart feel like, I want to change a little bit. And that happened during that time. So, that did happen. And that's kind of, I don't really know how I got into that story, but it is in the Chapman Company book, at least at this point, first draft. Who knows what's going to end up in there when things get edited, as far as stories go. But, I'm pretty excited about the fact that, I'm trying to get the book done, and which is a chore. I had some time and I was able to make some serious progress on it. But when you don't have, the time, I don't have the time that I had early on. And, so now it's kind of a Saturday thing where I try to get a few pages done and kind of redo it, because the whole thing is you want to finish it and then go back and kind of make some changes. You don't want to change everything. You might say, oh boy, back a few pages ago, I wish I'd said this. You make a note and you kind of keep it going. At least that's what I've tried to do. And what people have said is a good way to approach it. It's still a work in progress. If you'd asked me, I would have loved to have gotten it done by the end of the year, but that wasn't possible. And now, I'm at that point where, I got the first draft done, as I said, and having gone through this process, I just really admire those who have written several books, because I know how difficult it is to go through it. This is my first real book, and so it's something that it's just like anything else. You really probably have to get it to an editor when it's still not what you would call perfect, and just see what they do. So, yeah. And I've got James here saying that minds need to be open to produce change. Well, that's true. That is very true. Sometimes you can help people. Words are such a powerful thing. That if you stand in there long enough with somebody and maybe you debate them, maybe they still disagree, but they still like you. They maybe open up to the point where they may like you a little bit. And so words are powerful. And there's no doubt about that. And, and especially when you're in the business that I was in, where you're selling a concept, the idea of stock ownership, investment ownership is really kind of a concept. And I talk a little bit about business. That's kind of my strong suit. And I guess if I was a doctor, I'd talk about health and issues related to health. As I mentioned, I did have some health challenges myself, which, I thought were, I just never thought it would happen to me. Because I really was always in shape until, I guess, when I got into maybe when I was headed to my late 40s. So I started really kind of putting on a few pounds and not having time to go to the gym. And when you're younger, it's kind of interesting because you can eat all the pizza you want and it doesn't seem to affect you. But as you get older, boy, it's just amazing. You eat some pizza, you eat a sub, and the stuff really does stay with you and actually puts on weight. I guess they say your metabolism slows down and all of that kind of stuff. But again, I'm kind of going into the direction and talking about things based on the comments that I see here, and that's a good thing. But I'm still looking for that brave soul who, like Jacob this morning, was willing to come in and split the screen. The link for you to come in is right there on the top of the We123 Facebook page, pinned to the top. Just click on that link and it'll start you the process so you can come on in and we can chew the fat face to face. That's my hope. The good thing and the encouraging thing is each day we get a few more people. And I'm really happy about the people who have taken their time to send me a comment that I can put up and kind of show live. Real happy about that. And each day, that I see progress and all, and that really reaffirms that this is maybe something that needs to be done. Back in the old days, as you know, of the two-way talk days, it was all radio. Now we can do it via Facebook and other social media channels that we can kind of chop up issues. And I'm hoping that this might be a vehicle for a lot of you to do that. I'm a person that has had, what I say, a life lived. Not that I'm looking to croak, anytime soon, but just so many experiences. So I'm open. When we talk about putting together travel channels and this channel, maybe even a couple pastors, who knows, maybe put them on the air and through this mechanism, I'm just open to it all because I just, first of all, I love people. And most people, fearful of people. A lot of people are fearful of people. I'm not. I love people. And as you heard me say many times, it is nothing is for me to strike up a conversation with someone who I don't know at all. And I kind of touched on it a little bit. That I remember that I was downtown. I think I had a doctor's appointment. I was kind of in between doctor's appointments, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go out to the food truck, and I'm really not going to buy anything. I'm not all that hungry, but I'm going to sit on the curb and just watch people. People watch you and just see if there's anybody interesting. And I'll strike up a conversation with them. And I don't know if that sounds weird to folks, but I'm just that kind of person. I strike up a conversation. And I said a lot of times, my one buddy in particular, he said, man, you got to watch out. People might take that the wrong way. You're striking up a conversation or getting into other people's conversations. In a way, I kind of take the risk. I understand that, people might, some people might take it the wrong way. Maybe, who knows, might think I'm either trying to pull something or come on to them or something, but that's not really my objective. And I was downtown. And so I'm sitting there And this guy who seems like he's kind of homeless, he actually seemed like he may have been an alcoholic and homeless. He came over and asked me if I had a couple bucks. And at the time, I didn't, but I had like a 20 and I wasn't going to give him a 20. But then I said, hold on for a second, man, but if I'm going to give you some money, I really don't want to give you any money for drugs or to get something to drink. I don't feel like I should be helping you have it like that, but if you're hungry, here's the food truck, man, I'll get you something to eat. He said, no, man, I just want to get a couple cigarettes. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, I want to just get me a couple of Lucy's. I said, Lucy's? What are Lucy's? So now here we go. So I go over to the food truck. I get change for a 20. I give him a couple bucks. He said, man, a Lucy is people sell a pack of cigarettes. And then when people sell in Baltimore, people sell the individual cigarettes right out of the pack. That's called a Lucy. I didn't know that. And I was telling a buddy of mine about that. And I thought it was so interesting that there is like the underground economy in Baltimore of people who will go out, buy a pack of cigarettes, and actually stand and wait for people like my friend who was homeless, who don't have enough money to buy a full pack, but they will buy what is called a Lucy. Oh, I see Alexis out there. Good morning, Nate. Alexis Coate is the man, in his own right, and does the Baltimore Business Review.net. Well, but anyway, so we're talking, and he's explaining to me that he wants to take my couple of bucks, and he'll go up to a street, Utah Street, I believe it was, in Baltimore, and there are people who are just waiting with a pack of cigarettes in their hand, and that's usually the symbol. If they're just waiting around, they got a pack of cigarettes. See, if I saw somebody smoking with a pack of cigarettes in their hand, I would just think they're smoking. They're just holding their cigarettes. But what's happening is that's kind of like the informal advertisement that I got some Lucy's, or I'm willing to, for $1, give you one of these cigarettes. And that's kind of the going price, $1 per cigarette, that you can get yourself a Lucy. So he says, let me show you, right? And so I'd give him a couple bucks, and he's explaining, this woman just happens to walk by holding a pack of cigarettes and smoking. He jumps up. Now, if I was the woman and I saw a guy jump up like that, I might be a little concerned. She didn't seem to be concerned. And he kind of tapped his lips like that. And I guess that was the Lucy symbol, he's trying to get a Lucy, like he's going to get a smoke or something. He taps his. She immediately holds up her pack of cigarettes, pats him so one comes out. He takes one, gives her a buck. She keeps walking. They don't even exchange words. So, and then he sat back down. And he said, that's how it's done. Started to smoke a cigarette. He didn't want any food. He wasn't going to get any drugs or drinks. So he just wanted to get a smoke. And but that's the kind of thing that you learn and stuff. If you open yourself up to people, which I do, and you just start these conversations, let's see. Willie, I've got my cousin here saying, I've seen that in stores, has been in Be More Forever. Well, yeah, I'm going to tell you something. It never even crossed my mind. See, most times, maybe my nature, if someone asks you for a cigarette, either you're going to give it to them for free or you're not going to give it to them and you keep walking. But to actually physically syndicate your cigarette pack, I've got a pack of cigarettes here. I might be able to, if I sell maybe a third of them, actually pay for the pack through selling them individually. I have to admire the entrepreneurship. But I just never seen it in action. And there's so much that's going on in the underground economy that, as I said, he didn't even know this woman. He just jumped up. And mind you, this guy looked like a homeless person. His eyes were bloodshot red. His hair was all disheveled. His clothing, he looked homeless. And when he jumped up and patted his lips like that, and she kind of stopped and held up her pack and patted it to get one and gave her a buck, I said, wow, that's not how we used to do it at Alex Brown. But you're trading. Alex Brown, where I work, the oldest name in investment banking in the country, third oldest in the world. That's what we used to say, and that's where I used to work. And But I said, boy, look at that. And I admire the business aspect of that. You know, we just did a business trade right here on the street, and you had a product, and you kind of sold that product to a willing customer who actually, you know, in his case, kind of jumped up. I don't know what about this woman who that kind of, other than the fact that maybe she was still holding her cigarettes in her hand, that kind of tipped him off that she'd even be open to selling him one. Because maybe, as I said, the way I am, if I had a cigarette, I'd just give you one. But I guess with cigarettes being so expensive, I don't smoke. But if I did and I had a cigarette, you know, my nature would be to say, hey, I would just give you one. Oh, look at that. Earl's telling me that the stores even advertise no Lucy's sold here in the hood. That is just a common enough thing. See, well, I just didn't know. You know, I was kind of amazed at the whole thing. That I guess some stores maybe allow you to go in and like open a pack and like sell them $1 a cigarette or something. And the Earl is telling me there's stores that advertise that they don't do that in the hood. And, you know, so, you know, that's just commerce in action from my perspective. But that's the kind of thing that you learn, at least for me, if you open a conversation. You know, you might say, hey, Nate, it's kind of weird. You know, you come out there, sit on the curb, kind of looking for people to talk to. You're a lonely man. No, not really. You know, I just enjoy it. You know, I look at folks and I see various things. If I see someone who looks sad, I might give them a compliment or something like that. You know, if I got a little time to kill. Now, you know, my schedule is such. Normally, I don't have that kind of time to kill. I was like in between doctor appointments, and so I had a little time to kill. Normally, that's not my schedule, not anymore. But back then, you know, I had the time to kind of sit on that little curb area. It was about knee high. You sit there, and there were other people sitting there eating their lunch. It was a nice day, that particular day, right there, like 4 or 5 food trucks. You know, one of the food trucks was owned actually by a friend of mine. And, you know, only that day, you know, I just buy from him because he's a friend of mine. And I probably would have gotten this guy something to eat as well, you know, just because the guy who owned the food truck was a friend of mine. But he was, as I said, he was very interested. So I don't know, are there other people like you, like me, that are out there to just kind of, you know, strike up conversations with people? Or is that a weird thing that I do? You know, that this is an evolution. This is an extension of, you know, that I'm looking forward to whoever is going to, you know, be that brave soul, as I said, to step up to the plate. Now, Alexis here, he wants me to get into, he's like, Nate, I can hear Alexis now. Cut the BS, man. You know, you just, can you talk a little bit about why it's important for African Americans to start a business? Well, you know, as far as entrepreneurship, you know, they're only about, you know, depending on what study you look at, about 5 to 11% of the people who kind of in this country self-identify as being entrepreneurs. And the entrepreneurial life is not an easy life. But it's an important life. You know, I'm of the belief that we're in a capitalistic society. And unless you got some capital, you really can't participate. So that's the whole nature. This is capitalism. So without capital, there is no participation. You know, you can have capital in a lot of different ways. I mean, we talk about, you know, owning stock, owning homes, owning a share of a business where it's not a stock in a business where you're physically working that business every day. But that business has, if you look at sole proprietorship, it's got a tremendous, what we call multiplier effect. And the amount of jobs that you create just from the business of who you can hire, the other jobs that you make possible from the suppliers that you buy from and the people who you get services from, insurance agents who you might sell insurance. And all those things are things that are important within the African American community. And James is saying here, if you can't create a business model, don't do it. Well, you know, there's some truth to that. I mean, you need to a certain degree, know where you're going, and you may change off of that. Now, James's father used to own this major restaurant, which was a 24/7 seafood restaurant in Baltimore. And he was one of the pioneers of that concept of that whole 24/7 seafood restaurant thing. So he knows a little bit about business models, because that was the business model of that restaurant. And even what I'm doing here, our goal is to go 24/7 and seven days a week, 24 hours a day. And that's why we are steadily building content. Next week, you'll see some more content. If you come in, basically, though, no one's fighting me over the 6 to 9 content area. I think I'll have this one, 6 to 9. That's kind of my thing, since I'm a morning person. But there are others that throughout the day, you guys, if you tuned in on Tuesday, you saw the Donnie Glover show. Donnie came in about 10 o'clock and did his thing for an hour. And we'll have other people like Donnie who we're in the process this week of signing up, and you'll see that. But that's kind of a part of our model. But a model is kind of a forecast with an understanding of where you want to go. So when I say, I want to go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's kind of where we want to go. And you offer that, you say, well, Nate, how are you going to make money? Because you can be in business. The whole definition of making money, being in business, is to make money. If you don't make money, the IRS says 3 out of 5 years, they'll call that a hobby. So, and we got a revenue model of how, we kind of what we call monetize what we're doing. And we can certainly talk about business and how one forms companies, how you choose which form you want to be in, given what stage you might be at in the business. So, Alexis, tell us a little bit about your model for the We Network. Let me put that comment up there. Mm-hmm. You see there, Alexis is asking me to say a little bit about my business model for the We Network. Well, I touched on the fact that we are looking to be 24/7, but also we're kind of in a marketing mode. For example, we may mention products on this broadcast, and we're in the process of doing that and enable you, if you're interested in buying some of those products. For example, I might talk about, the other day, we were talking about de-icers. I was explaining how my car was just iced over. And it started me to say, boy, I wish I really had a de-icer. One of those sprays that I could have sprayed on the door that would have melted the ice and opened the door and let me kind of start my day. And I started thinking, what kind of de-icer should I buy? And in my mind, one of the things that you'll probably see, because of my personal experience, is we'll probably just do a little research. What are the top 5 de-icers out there, and put it out there for you if you're interested. And because you should have one. Because especially if you're listening to us and you're in the Northeast, or you're one of those places like Chicago or other places, you should probably have your little can of de-ice that's in the house. Don't have it in the car, because that defeats the purpose. If you're having a car, your car is iced over, you can't get to it, so you need it in the house. And let's say, for instance, you click on it. They might take you to an affinity website or something, and if you buy it, we get a percentage. And so that's kind of the heart of the revenue model. We're not beating you over the head with, you must buy. There may be some content that we do that's more purely like that. It's kind of a home shopping network, QVC type of content, where we may interview people at beauty salons, and if you buy their product, it's kind of just like home shopping network. Or you may be at some place where someone is doing something, and if you buy their product, we get a piece, and that kind of is the revenue model part of it. But even more than that, we want to bring people in who have diverse points of views, and I'm talking to all kinds of people now who have a voice and have something to say, and we want to make sure that that's represented. You may not want to get up. You may be a person who doesn't get up at 6 a.m. You may be a person who works all night and sleeps, and so you're not available. So you may have that 11 to 7 shift. So you may not be available when the show kicks off. So but if we go 24/7 and there's some content for you that you might be able to come to the channel and see, that's what we're hoping to provide. And that is kind of, in a nutshell, the we model in its beginning stages, because we're at the beginning. This is our first week. Thursday, our first week, and we're not going to be doing anything per se on Friday. Our first 5 days of the month, our first 5 days of being in business, but this has been a tremendous learning experience. As you watched the things that if I could have known them in advance, I would have dealt with them in advance. But even now, trying to encourage you out there, Alexis, come on and click on that thing. Don't be scared. I know you're not scared. Click on that thing and come on here with me and chew the fat for a minute. Or, let's see. I've got a comment here from James. James says that Steve Harvey and Tom Joyner work at that time too. Absolutely right. I mean, they have certainly proved that there's a market out there. I'm just hoping that in terms of instead of turning on your phone, that you'll turn on, or rather, instead of turning on your radio, or in addition to, that you'll turn on your phone and listen to what we have going on and listen to each other. Because as I mentioned, for the most part, their formats are they have a set group of people and they're chopping it up. And we have people like Jacob, who we intended to bring in, attempted to bring in today, and others who we'll bring in the future that we'll chop it up with. But my hope is that you all, the public, will come on board either through comments that we can elevate here and let the public see what's happening, or that you be brave enough. See, I guess there's one thing when you call into a radio, nobody sees your face and stuff, and what I'm asking for is you take that next step. And hold up, let's see here. Alexis wants me to do a commercial. It says here, okay, here's your first. Black Business Review has a 300 by 250 advertisement for $250 a month, which normally sells for $500, a $50 discount. Okay. And also he says here, give me 10 minutes. I'm all in. He's going to come on. All right, we'll see. So we did an Alexis advertisement here. We'll advertise. We'll do whatever as we shape the content. If so, people who want to buy an advertisement in the Baltimore Business Review, certainly it's something that it will get you out there. I mean, and to get you known to the public. And so, I'm for that advertisement. I'm just thinking here. I got to flip it over to Alexis. I have to flip the we over to his Black Business Review and get a little advertising time. But no, I'm just really joking for the most part. But as we shape content here, we'll talk about different things. If you got something, an event going on or whatever, you want to try it. To get us to announce it or something like that, we're happy to do that. We're steadily building our followers. We're steadily building those people who are interested in what we have to talk about. And quite frankly, what we have to talk about is what you have to talk about. As you see, I just continue to react to whatever comments I get. In addition to that, we have hopefully some guests that'll generate some more thoughts. Well, this is a two-way talk social media platform. And we want you guys to come in, whether you guys who come in through the We channel or come in through other places. We want you to share our video, and we'd like you to like our video so more people will get to see us. So if you do that, we really appreciate it. We're talking where, the show will go from 6 to 9. So you have plenty of time to come in and out of what we're trying to do here early in the morning. And just like Tom Joyner, or just like the other person that he mentioned, that we're in this slot, but we're in a slot in a different way. It's kind of interesting. You got the Tom Joyners of the world, and you've got the Morning Joes, but they don't bring you in. you don't get really to participate with them. And that's what I'm hopeful. We're kind of in between here, and that you'll be willing to send some comments that we can react to, and that you also be willing to be seen, to come in and kind of chop up with what we're doing, and be an active participant with what we're doing, because I've got just a wide interest of various things, and I'm constantly reading the news about various things. So, I'm more than willing to converse with you. And if there's something I don't know, I'll tell you that, and hopefully I'll be able to learn that from you. That would be my hope. So, as we continue to kind of put it out there, back in the old days, I don't know, I used to do two-way talk at the Morgan State University radio station here in Maryland. Morgan State's a college, university here, and they used to have their own radio station, WEAA, which has a pretty broad viewing audience. In fact, I've got a friend, and the only channel he listens to is WEAA. It shocked me when he said that. He never kind of goes through. The only channel he listens to is that one. And they used to have a program called Two-Way Talk, which I used to do and come on and basically talk business, talk investments, and so this is kind of in addition to my just natural interest in wanting to talk to people. This is an evolution of that two-way talk format. Heck, the guy I used to host it, I might just get him on here to chew a little fat with me. I'll kind of reverse it. Instead of he invited me to his show, I have to invite him to my show where we kind of two-way talk some issues. And the good thing is you don't necessarily have to come here. I'll bring you in via the web, and hopefully we'll be able to hear you. But we'll continue to evolve that technology. We'll continue. We got some other things too. We're dealing with the split screen and all, but we got some other things from a technology standpoint that we're going to be launching that are going to be pretty interesting. Hope they'll be interesting. If they're not, just tell me, I'll stop them. Just kind of testing them out there in the market, because you're the ultimate tester of what you're interested in. Hey. I've got a note here from Daisy on Facebook. She said, Nate, just an observation or advice. Can you have a cup of water to sip on from 6 to 9? It also looks like it is also okay to have the laptop in the camera so you can see. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Oh, yeah, the laptop in the camera so you can see. Thanks, Daisy. That actually came in on Facebook. Well, actually, I tell you, Daisy, with the way what I was dealing with, and I've got here, why not boycott H&M from Derek? That just came over Facebook as well. But just to kind of deal with what Daisy was saying, Nate, you need a cup of coffee or some water. You're going to talk so long. Well, normally, and up until today, I had a little cup of coffee. And this morning, for some reason, I'm thinking, I'm kind of hyped. Maybe I don't need any coffee, even though I got decaf. I get the decaf and I roll with it. But there's no reason why I can't have something else to drink. And you're probably right. I don't really feel any negative effects per se. Now that you mentioned it, just kind of made me thirsty, Daisy. But I don't feel any negative effects for this straight through talking, but chances are maybe tomorrow I'll invest in something, to drink. I need to drink more water like most people. That's been kind of my goal. And so, I am happy to be able to do that. Now, this Derek had brought out the statement, boycott H&M. Now, I had not really heard that, why that people are interested in doing that. And Derek, maybe you can talk a little bit more about why people want to boycott H&M. It's not really one of my stores, but maybe at some point, I know Derek, Derek is going to be doing something himself. We'll probably look to announce some more stuff on that next week. But that's kind of an interesting comment. So boycott H&M. I'm not really sure on that one. So, so if you've got some more information on that, Derek, just let me know. But what we're also wanting to do is to talk about sports. If you guys are interested in doing that, or talk about fashion. I joke, back in the old days, you wouldn't know it now, but the old dog used to be a model. I mean, not a true model. That wasn't ever my paid profession. But in a couple of old fashioned magazines, I should kind of bring some of those pictures so y'all know I'm not joking. And it says here, Daisy says, Mornings with Nate, the we 1, 2, 3 on it. That's it. Mornings with Nate. That is it. I could probably keep a little graphic on the screen. Just keep saying mornings with Nate, mornings with Nate. At the 1, 2, 3, the we 1, 2, 3. Just to kind of bring home the point of that's what we're doing. Put mornings with Nate on the we 1, 2, 3. I got you. I got what you're saying now. So in addition to saying mornings with Nate, I should just add to it, maybe my whole, when I talk mornings with Nate on the we 1, 2, 3, something like that. Okay, I can go with that. That's a good idea. And to make sure that people know where to find us, because you go into Facebook. Let's say you've heard that, hey, Nate's doing something. Want to find him? And you go into Facebook, and the first thing you see, if you put in my name, you go to my personal page, little fan page, and then you'll see of the things I'm associated with. You'll see the we. And then you can click on the wheel to bring you over to where we are right now. I see what you're saying. Put it on the coffee cup. Let me elevate this here. Daisy is saying, Nate, put the we 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put it, well, first she said that. Put mornings with Nate on it. And she says, on the coffee cup. That's an idea. I like that, Daisy. Mornings with Nate on the coffee cup. I like that. And it says here, and then Alexis is asking me, can you send me an invite to join? Well, Alexis, the way it works, and you can tell me if it's not working that way, but the way it works is that if you go to the we 1, 2, 3, at the top of the page is a link. And if you click on that link, that should start you have to download the little software, and then you can join what we're saying. It'll click to join, and then your face will pop up here. That's what should happen. So that's not what we wanted to happen. So go to the we 1, 2, 3 on Facebook. That's the username, the we 1, 2, 3, and click on that link, and then you can get the invite right there. Oh, he's doing it. I see him. Boy, you like Alexis.
What's up, Nate? How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm so glad to hear your voice. I was with Jacob. I didn't know if I had another technology issue. I thought I solved that one yesterday of not being able to hear folks.
Oh, man, I'm so glad to hear your voice. Jacob.
So, yeah, I see you got the other thing going. I hear that feedback a little bit.
No, I cut it off. I disconnected, so we had no feedback. So how's it going, Nate?
It's going great, man. You joined me to take me into the final hour, huh?
Yeah, I love the show, Nate. This is brilliant. I like the coffee cup. I like to get one. Uh-huh. I like to know when I could purchase one of those wee coffee cups.
Well, we have to go get one, and I gotta call Daisy and see, because the entrepreneur, she got 10% of it. So
that'll be exciting. So I got a couple of things I can like help you along with this, so you can help me. Mm-hmm. So one thing I want to talk about is you say you want to sell products. I do have a product, and I can also talk about entrepreneurship if you want to discuss entrepreneurship. But with Black Business Review, we have an ad that runs for about $500, and we want to sell it for $250, and we'll give an affiliate fee to the we if we can sell one. So what we do is trying to get people in action now, everyone who's watching. And what I'll do is, let me see if I can go out and I can share this to my network, right? I'm going to share this out to everyone in my network. So it should drive your audience up and pick things up a bit. But I want to talk about, we're doing an ad for like $250 as opposed to $500. It's a $300 by $250 ad, and we'll run a feature story. So we're pretty excited about some things with Black Business Review with covering articles. And yesterday we covered, I think, Erin Jackson, who's the first Black speed skater to qualify for the Olympics. So you should also go check out the website, and that's pretty exciting. But I'm excited to be on.
That's very exciting. Now, I know also you're doing some under 40 events in other parts of the country. You're doing one in Atlanta and I think one other place.
Yes. So our first event took place in Baltimore a couple weeks ago. It was at the Startup Nest. It was a 40 under 40. We got about 150, 160 people. We honored some of the top entrepreneurs and business professionals in Baltimore. So we were pretty excited how that went. Myself and Granville, we put together this event and we were pretty satisfied with it. So the next event is taking place late March, maybe a little bit after. And we expect to run this event in Atlanta, right? Mm-hmm. In Atlanta, we're looking for the mayor to be the keynote speaker in Atlanta. So we're pretty excited about that event. And then we're looking at New York, and we're looking to move to Washington, D.C. to honor some of the top business professionals and entrepreneurs in business for Black Business Review. And then we got a couple other pretty big events on the table that we're cooking on. So we're pretty.
I know you also are going to honor, I think you said the top lawyers or top police officers or something like that.
Yes, we have a list. We have a list of lists, which is Monday or Tuesday. I think it's Monday. We're coming out with top accountants in Baltimore. And then we're working on top real estate agents and top attorneys, top lawyers. So we're always looking to collect additional information. If you know someone that you could recommend, Black Business Review is running our own top list. And this is for African Americans. This site recognizes our people who sometimes don't always get picked up by mainstream. So we want to make sure we give everyone their fair due and give them access. And by the way, Nate, I got to say it, I'm looking at this on my phone. I love this split screen. This is beautiful way.
Yeah. Now we got to get Granville in here. See, I want to do some experimentation here. I can get 3 people in here. I want to get one more person, and we'll split it one more way.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can get the Honorable Granville Templeton in on a call. I'm sure some way. His technology is pretty deep over there, and me and Granville ran a business together, so I'm sure his technology is pretty wired up. So, and we're be excited to talk about business. But so the question I asked you earlier, Nate, was why is it important for people to start a business? Now, I heard someone come back and say that if you don't have cash, you shouldn't start a business. So are you telling me I should go get a job? You should tell that person they should go get a job as opposed to starting a lawnmower business, to be a stockbroker or whatever, right? What are you suggesting if they don't have a lot of money, but they have a clear goal and maybe they do have some sort of soft model that they want to work from, and there's some industry standards out there? What would you recommend for people who want to start a business?
Well, one of the things that we talk a little bit about are the stages that a person needs to go through in order to have a successful business. I mean, there are people that are out there that understand what the whole concept of what's called disciplined entrepreneurship. And there are a number of steps in the disciplined entrepreneurship process, because there's some people who believe that most entrepreneurs are born. That the person, you hear that saying, he's a born entrepreneur, he's a born business person. Well, what we've proven is that that's not really true. I mean, you can learn the entrepreneurial steps. And so a person who's out there with not much money really ought to kind of say that I need to learn the process, because I have a vision. That's not enough. I've got the energy. That's not enough. You got to know that there is a standard process that a person that's been tried and tested that you ought to go through. It starts with, for instance, in defining your market. I've got an idea, but who am I going to sell it to? Kind of thing. Okay. And understanding, and if you understand who your market is, and that is a number of steps to kind of get to that ideal person who you're thinking you're going to sell to, then that kind of orients who you're going to advertise. So if you say, for instance, that my market is women from 30 to 35, well, that says you're going to market in magazines and other things that take you to that person, because that is who you're trying to get to. And then, some targets as to how any market you ought to get into, you ought to be looking at getting at least 20% of it. Because at 20%, you become kind of a control person in the market. You don't have to, get 51% to control the market. Usually it's thought of, you got 20%, then you're one of those people who's, it's kind of a category mogul, and you can kind of move on from there. So a person without much money can still kind of start that process. And then what we're doing right now, the whole testing process. The
Right.
best way to figure out your business is to test it out there to see the people who are interested and how you can evolve it, and based on the back and forth that you get with clients that are out there. That's why I'm so interested. In addition to just want to meet people, I want to evolve it to see if people really like this kind of two-way talk format. I'm
So
happy. Go ahead.
This question. Here's a magical question. Me and Granville had this discussion several times, right? And we've been giving some business advice to people. What's normally the ramp up time? Like, when should I expect when I start my car repair business, my logo design business, or investment business, or real estate business? What's a realistic ramp up time? Like, some people aren't building in enough time to say, this business is not going to take off in 60 days or 90 days, right? Should I be comfortable, like, this business is not going to really kick and turn real profits for 24 months? Is it going to be 60 months? Like, what should I be comfortable with? Or should I expect to be turning profits instantly?
Well, one of the things is getting started. Before you ever start thinking about turning profits, there's so many people who get stuck at the planning stage, with the idea. And I'm pretty kind of hardcore on that. I was talking about the difference between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a person who has an idea. 30 days from that day, he's got a business. A wantrepreneur is a person who has an idea, and 30 days from there, he's got still an idea. You really, at some point, have got to launch. You may not have all of the bells and whistles that you like to have, but really those bells and whistles are kind of determined by the public. I may say that, I may like to have all kinds of things, but the public may not really want that. It may not be willing to pay for it. So much of entrepreneurship is tested out there. Now, in terms of generating a profit, some of it comes from just competitive knowledge of what others have done, because, as many generals have said, you want to learn from the mistakes of others. And so that's a huge feature. So if you can learn what other people have done, that gives you some idea of what is possible. Now, you may have some different spins that may allow you to either make money sooner or later, but learning what other people have done is a huge factor. Now,
okay.
The other thing is you do at least want to have some type of plan. I mean, once you get out there and you kind of, gotten some information back from the public of what they want, maybe you've got some information about what you can charge for the service. Some people just straight up do surveys, to ask people, would you pay X for this? And if people say yes, would you pay X plus? And if not, would you pay X minus? Kind of know what the market will bear before you get out there in a big way. So, there's a huge thing about putting out your minimum viable product. And once you have that minimum viable product out there, people can react to it. I wish you had this thing, you can add it on, or you can take this away. I don't really appreciate that. So a lot of that goes into the decision to get a successful business. And that's the discipline process. And at MIT, Discipline Entrepreneurship, my memory serves me correctly, I think there are 23 steps in the discipline entrepreneurship process. If I wasn't all hooked up now, in order to hear you, what we discovered is I do need these earphones. If I wasn't hooked up.
I like that you killed the back noise. So your learning process is coming, and I see the growth. I really see the growth in your product. So it's pretty exciting to see this real growth in your product.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's something that you learn by doing. As I said, we've experienced some things just on a technology standpoint that I wouldn't have guessed in advance would have happened. But by going out and trying, I see, oh man, I can't hear this guy, and I really don't know the reason I didn't hear Jacob earlier. Now I hear you clearly. So I have to assume there was something with his phone. That.
So for me, Nate, just a quick feedback for me. So one, I plugged the earphones into my phone because I was getting feedback while I'm on my laptop. So when I get that feedback, you're not going to hear me at all. Mm-hmm. So now basically I've muted my phones and I'm only talking to the computer now.
Mm-hmm.
So now the voice is coming across crystal clear. The pictures are unbelievable on this. I love the pictures on this. The feed is unbelievable. So you got to make sure everybody got everything around them, all devices muted,
Mm-hmm.
so the voice can come straight through through the interview.
Yeah,
But it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I know. In Jacob's case, I couldn't hear him at all. Feedback, or nothing. I couldn't hear him at all. So I'm thinking that when we talk, I'm going to call Jacob, and then when we talk, by the way, I'm sitting here, I see myself staring at us on the laptop when the camera's over here. Maybe I should focus on staring at the camera.
You should be at the camera. Yes.
Because I can see the split screen to my right. But but when I talk to Jacob again, maybe we can kind of walk through how his phone settings were, because it wasn't an issue of feedback at all. I just couldn't hear him. And then, in addition, the people out in the public couldn't hear him. So there was probably something with his phone, some setting or something that we need to focus on, so that he can get out there, because Jacob has a very interesting story, and he's a scientist, and he's got some things he's done that are very interesting that I'm sure people would like to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nate, are you going to be also discussing politics here?
Well, politics, I'm more than willing to discuss politics, but there are going to be some content that we're going to create that is strictly politics. The show that Donnie has, Donnie Glover, he comes on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. He touches on a lot of political issues. That's right. He's got a lot of political issues that he touches on, and we're producing some other content of people who are going to strictly do that. This talk format that I'm doing here is open format, without having an agenda where we come in and we say, this is what we're all about. Is something that is unique to this time slot and the 6 to 9 time slot. So we're probably going to be talking about politics. Donnie's doing it now. We're going to be doing it more in the future. In fact, if my memory serves correctly, I think next Tuesday when Donnie comes in, he's going to have Johnny Obreski. I'll just know him as Johnny O. And he's running for county exec, and so people like that, we're probably going to do and try to get some more national figures. The way I look at it is, how you look at the morning news. And when I look at it, I look at CNN and they interview somebody on CNN, and it seems like that person directly goes over to Morning Joe. And it's the same person that's interviewed on Morning Joe.
That's beautiful. That's what you want to do on a Weed Network. You want to pass those folks around in that circle. That's perfect.
Well, I'm looking for those same people to come up here, so we can hit them from another direction.
They got a show. Maybe have me and Granville come on there and talk about business and some business things and growing your business. Like, we're open to any way we can to join you and help out, man. This is a beautiful platform you have with the Weed, man. We're pretty excited about it.
Well, yeah. Again, for the folks that are out there, this is you'd be surprised. The last, I won't even mention his name until we formally launch his stuff. But this is how we launched now some content that'll be coming up. We chew the fat here, and after the show, we talk. Hey, we'll let you host your own thing. I don't have to be in it. You just go and do it. We'll produce it. Kind of thing. And and I'm looking, as I said, there's all kinds of content that we've been talking about with people, and it's content that doesn't include me, and it's something that I'm pretty excited about. So folks that have ideas, have voices, we want to make sure to get out there. And there's so many issues, dealing with family, dealing with relationships, all of that, that people who have voices and have an interest in that we want to provide that platform where they can come and talk about those things, and also to interact with other people who may feel the same or differently.
So how about I throw a good question across the fence to you? So on Black Business Review, we ran a story yesterday about Oprah Winfrey running for president in 2020 against Donald Trump. And we ran a poll. We got a small response to it. Pretty overwhelming poll that people are really interested today. They would vote for Oprah Winfrey. And it's becoming a shift from politics now to sort of business people can run the country, right? And it's now also becoming, which is very interesting now, it's becoming a very popularity contest. Who has the most followers, right? So we have 100,000 followers on Instagram. Same thing. This game is becoming a popularity contest. Now the presidential race is becoming a popularity contest. The mayor's race in different cities become popularity. I think Oprah, with her sort of following, with some of the polls I've already looked at, Black Business Review ran a poll, I've seen Forbes, a couple other people ran polls, and overwhelmingly, people are really interested in seeing Oprah Winfrey run for president, and they would actually vote for her, right?
Yeah.
They're not even looking for a politician anymore.
Well, that's true. It used to be that you would think that in order to hold that office, you'd have some kind of previous experience. And I think that there's less and less of that now, where people saying you need to have held some lower office of some sort in government, whether it's Bush, who was governor, or Obama, who was a state senator, or, something. Yeah. It was a U.S. senator and a state senator. So it's, but people aren't really saying that. In addition to Oprah, there are people pushing The Rock, Dennis Johnson to run. And he's expressed that he might be interested on the Republican side of running for president down the road. And there are people I'm absolutely sure who would vote for The Rock. Or Arnold Schwarzenegger, if he would run for president, but he's not to be president, you have to be a natural born citizen, and he's not a natural born American citizen. So he's not eligible to run, and that's constitutional. Right. So that's not likely to change. Could Oprah beat Donald Trump? Well, maybe, you never really know. The whole environment, they said that, between Trump and Clinton, that they were both mutually so unpopular. If you have somebody like Oprah, who is extremely popular, or even somebody like Dennis Johnson, The Rock running, who's very popular. I mean, he's like the number one highest paid person in Hollywood now, I believe. Right. And, anything's possible that people might vote, as you said, just because of celebrity, and because the whole thing is, once you get in there, you'll get people around you. And if you're a level thinking person, that you ought to be all right as president. And so I think Donald Trump's really opened the door to that. And it's going to be interesting to see. I would be surprised if she ran, because if you look at what's happened to Donald Trump, whether you like him or dislike him, I don't think his running for president has helped his brand too much. I mean, some of his stuff has got kicked out of stores. I think they don't carry his stuff in Macy's anymore. I
think he got enormous still growth in his real estate holdings. His holdings, from what I understand, his real estate holdings abroad are really growing. Right, he's still acquiring property and standing up hotels. He's standing up all sorts of other business. He got a construction business of vehicle construction. I mean, he's not like, his ties and some shirts and some other stuff. Yes, he's losing some ground becoming president, but I think this does give him real level ground to build out his real estate holding company, which is very interesting, right? To see him build out he's sort of leveraging. It's interesting. He's leveraging the presidency to grow his business, and he's using his family to leverage this, which is sort of unheard of in the U.S. And now it's becoming like standard play, like leverage it all the way out and grow your business and get out of being president and go.
Well, of course, that makes me wonder. Here, you talk like that. Are you thinking about running for office yourself?
No. I can't. I am strictly a media guy, right, behind the scenes. But I'm astute to both politics and business. That I have no interest. I have zero interest. I don't know, unless you egg me on. Running for office.
Well, even if you thought it would leverage your business.
Well, see, that becomes before like post 2014, 15. It wasn't logical, but now Donald Trump is making it so logical. Like, I could grow my business if I run for office, and not even run for office and win. Just run and generate the sort of popularity for your name, and now it generates sort of access for you. Right? It's real, right?
That's right.
The access is real now. So now everyone, all of us, have to Nate Chapman for mayor, right? Everyone has to consider everything now.
Well, it's interesting. I think there's some people that I see in races all over the country that I think are just running for that very purpose, that they want to be tagged as an ex-candidate for governor or an ex-candidate for some particular office, and they get on these talk shows, and then they get interviewed, and they get introduced as XYZ.
You always get a book deal.
Get a book deal. Right. That's right. Get a book deal.
Yeah.
Talk about the path. and it's sad because I think they hoodwink certain people to think they're real serious about winning the race. I mean, if they could win, they would win. But for those people contributing dollars to help them win, I think at the end of the day, all they're doing is running to try to get one of those spots on one of the CNN shows or so on, and that's kind of it, because those things can be very lucrative.
Yep. And I agree with what you're saying. I like the word hoodwink, right? People are running with the anticipation that Donald Trump have the lowest of the lowest poor intent in mind, right? And I don't know if that's always true. I think if you look at some of his tax cuts and some things he did to Obamacare, cutting medical aid for people, I think it's been pretty interesting that his base, he ponders to his base by voice, but by policy, he's doing something completely different. He's not completely pondering to his base based on like the policies he's signing off on. These new tax policies, some of his Medicaid stuff, and then some of this healthcare stuff, he's not pondering to his base. He's taking healthcare away from them. And but people are so fascinated by him for some reason, they continue to stay on board with him and his popularity. But here's the problem, right, with him as president. He's polling at about 36%, how acceptable he is in the United States, which is bad. But I guess he don't care because, right, he's still making money.
Well, let me ask you something in a strict practical sense. Can you see yourself ever linked with Donald Trump? I mean, right now, if you thought that Donald Trump would give you some access to corporate leaders, you might be able to sell your business, sell some advertisement. Could you ever see yourself kind of joining his group? Because I imagine that you're not a member right now. I'm just guessing you may be a member already. But could
you asking me, am I a member? You're telling me.
I'm asking you, if you're not a member, could you ever see yourself being?
So let me say this then. And I've thought about that. I thought about if someone ever called and say, hey, I can get you a sit down with Donald Trump or an interview or whatever, right? Interview where the magazine would talk to him and we would get some sort of association with him. For instance, I'm fully aware that Donald Trump can hurt your brand, right? If you look at Steve Harvey and some other people, like you can't come across as buffoonery. You standing on the stage and he's just playing you and just dancing with you, and he's making you look bad. Look at Under Armour. You see that the stock took. I mean, some of the hits Under Armour took. I don't know. Would I take a meeting with them? I don't know. Maybe I would. I don't know if I would. I don't know, but he could hurt your brand. He really could. But I think when I
hold on, is this Granville? You out there?
Maybe I would. I don't.
Granville, are you with us? Is that you? Oh, what happened to Granville? Oh, you can't just go black on us.
I'm here. I can't hear you guys though.
You can't hear us? Oh boy.
Granville, you probably got to mute your phone, but I can see like another screen come up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know because your camera. I don't know what your camera looks like, but right now.
Yeah, I hear it on my.
Yeah, I'll take you down until you get it where you want to be.
So Nate, why you taking care of Granville? So taking a meeting with Donald Trump is something I may be open to. I don't know if it can help grow the business. If it can really help grow the business. You really have to. I really have to be careful and seek counsel before I did something like that. But he could, like on my site, when I post stories about Donald Trump, he polls pretty high on my site, right? He gets a lot of hits. Let's bring it down to a common denominator, common sense. He gets a lot of hits on Black Business Review when I post his stories for whatever reason. Now, would an interview with me and the honest questions help my site? Yes, it probably would. More than likely. The way he's polling, if I interviewed him, it would probably give us unbelievable growth, right? We would get a hockey stick in the growth. So yes, I may consider it if the opportunity availed itself. I may be open to it. But it's very interesting that you asked, and this platform is this African American platform, not just African American, but this platform you provide, Nate, is very much needed. And I see the long-term growth in this.
Well,
that-
it's funny because you and I talk about things, and this kind of and I always try to make the point. This is kind of a global platform.
Yes.
You're going to see a little bit of everything. We're talking to people now who are from all backgrounds, all sexual orientations.
Okay.
It is. You're going to see it all, Lord willing. That people who are providing content, so you're going to see a little bit of everything because we're the we. And I always say, Alexis, that this is kind of an evolution of my kind of thing that I do, which is just striking up conversations with random people. And I really don't care who you are. I see you and you look interesting, and I'll strike up a conversation with you. And that's kind of funny, for everybody from my buddies, my girlfriends, they're like, oh boy, you got to watch out for that kind of stuff because people could take it the wrong way. Like you're trying to get over, or you're trying to come on to them or anything like that. But what I found too is that as you get older and you got kind of a little gray in your beard, people will give you the benefit of the doubt a little bit. That you're trying to do anything untoward, that you're really just kind of just talking. And so this is kind of an extension of that. And I hope Granville can try to come back in, and see what we can do, because you saw how the screen split. I love that. I love it how it's split into threes. We didn't see them, and we there's a little bit of feedback, but we can solve that. That is what the intention is, to solve that kind of thing. So it's that's really what we're trying to do.
So did you see the message I just sent you? I just sent a quick message on your Believe TV. I just sent you a message of Trump. The Trump administration issued guidance to states early Thursday.
There's Granville. Let's try him again. Let's see if we can get him on.
Okay.
He's got a suit on. He's looking kind of, like he's ready to go.
It's funny, Nate.
Look at General Counsel. Oh, okay. Look at this.
Man.
Now this is interesting.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I keep looking over to my right, to watch the split screen instead of looking over at the camera. But yeah.
Now all three of us on the screen. Nate, look at you. Yes. Nate now compete with Morning Joe.
That's right, Morning Joe. That's right.
Morning Joe. Now there's shows.
That's right. That's my saying. No Morning Joe, no Chris Kumo. We're going to the we.
Yes.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, good morning. We got super attorney and super entrepreneur and actually super artist, graphic artist, Granville Templeton III. He has been very helpful in some of the things we've been doing here, and great to see him on board. Great to hear his voice.
Yes. It's always nice. So Nate, so since you got a little bit of time, Nate, I'm gonna start off with 2 seconds. I'll give you a minute of my relationship. Granville is a best friend of mine, and me and Granville have been friends for well over 9 or 10 years. But we started a company called One Square Box, and wow, we jumped in. And kind of weird, right? The truth is, we probably got one of the fastest starts in business. I think within the first month, we made $100,000 within the first month. With first month in business, which kind of eluded us to believe that we were on a rocket ship to outer space. Quickly to that, we picked up a few more $100,000 contracts, but things kind of slowed down. So maybe we should talk a little bit, just in general, Nate. We talk a little bit about the sort of what happens with early jumps in businesses, and how does it affect you when you get out and get that early start? Because we took on, I don't know what the size of the space is that we had at Granville. We had 2 floors in the heart of Baltimore, and we had a whole bunch of employees, and we raised some venture capital. So me and Granville, we were pretty entrenched traveling around the world, not just the China, people brought us in China. We was going to all the other places. We was just flying over the world, but it was a pretty exciting experience. But opposite to a slow start, we got a fast start, Nate. And Granville might want to talk a little bit about that, like the fast start we had.
Go ahead, Graham.
1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we did have a good start. We kind of moved pretty fast initially. We had a good product. We created our own software. We created hardware also. The initial thought process was not hardware and software, but we kind of pivoted the business to include both when we saw that the market really wanted that. And I saw the comment from the guys earlier. One of the guys said that you have to have your market defined. The funny thing is, whenever we had our market defined, it seemed like it always we'd have to pivot and change with the times. And I want pretty much Nate to probably talk more about that, because I think he's seeing more in the investment side.
Well, one of the things that I believe in is multiple revenue streams. And I believe in that. Now, there's certain people that say you do one thing and then you try to be the best at it and you focus your energies all on that one thing. And that certainly is one way to go at it. But I've always liked to develop businesses that have multiple revenue streams, and the belief that there's going to be something hot at a certain particular time, and there's going to be certain things that are cold. And every once in a while, you'll have it where all those revenue streams are popping. But all too often, one of those revenue streams is subsidizing another revenue stream. And that particular revenue stream is not going as well, or not really popping. So when you get something that's out there that is really moving, oftentimes that money, you can say, okay, I've got something that's jumping right now. Let me put more in, it'll jump even further. But you really do have to take some of that seed corn and put it back into other ideas that you have and other revenue streams, because things, don't shoot to the moon. And it might give you the ability that when that one thing slows down, the other thing will be picking it up. Especially, you're taking the investment banking business. We had investment management, brokerage, public finance, insurance business, all those things. Every once in a while, everything was doing fantastic and we having a fantastic year. But all too often, certain things are doing okay and then other things are doing fantastic, or certain things are subsidizing other things. And that's kind of the way that it rolls. So if you're just doing one thing and it slows down, and I don't know if you guys were just, doing one thing and then things kind of took a turn, you're at risk, because that's what happens. Things take a turn. They don't work out the way you thought. But if you take some, go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing was, we saw that our buyers were, they wanted to buy hardware. They wanted to buy tablets, the school systems, but they didn't have the software to utilize the hardware. So then we had to say, what do we need to do? We need to, make sure that our software gives them what they need so that they can, purchase the hardware that we have. So, we kind of gave them, we saw what the market wanted, added to what we were doing, and it worked. We got a lot of sales. Alexis was really instrumental in making sure that we were entrenched in our market, the school district. Well,
it sounds like you guys had a great strategy. And if nothing else, you got some experience. In Silicon Valley, when they look at who they're going to invest in, normally they don't even want to invest in anyone who hasn't failed twice. People look at failure as though it's fatal, and it's not. A lot of people like to see that you've failed a couple times and hopefully learn from it, and you're ready to reiterate something new based on that experience. Too often guys look at failure as something that's just really just the black mark. And it just is not. You just get up, you dust yourself off, and you head toward the next idea that you feel that you can take everything that you've learned and you can go on to that next idea stronger than you ever go before. At MIT, we used to call it, you got to hit it hard. You'll see me say that all the time, hit it hard. And no matter what happens, you learn from it. You got to be open to learning from it. And what did I do wrong? And then you jump right back into it and move things to the next level. And more often than not, that next time of hitting hard or trying is that idea that takes you to the moon. So having, and also having two guys like yourself, who have been business together, partners together, raises the chance of being successful. There's statistics to show that, that you build a team of two people, you're going to be more successful than one. Well, a team with 1, 3 is more successful than 2. I think it cuts off at 5. You don't get a whole lot of return involving, more than 5 people. But if up until that point, as you continue to add people, you continue to see the probability of your being successful goes up.
Okay.
So what you guys are doing, it's tremendous. How many guys? Yeah, and I'd like to hear more about that. Maybe we talk a little bit more how you got to China, how you met the Chinese people, how you were attempting to sell there, what happened, what the issues were, because too often we talk about importing stuff from China. You go to some of these websites where you can get stuff at a discount, and we import it. but how you actually went from some guys here locally to open those doors in China, that the federal government helped you, the Small Business Administration helped you, how you guys did that. And that's something that maybe, we're closing out our time here, depending on which computer I look at. I said my computers all seem to have different times. But, and from the Facebook perspective, Facebook lets you talk for 90 minutes and then they give you the hook. So I always try to close off a little before we get to that 90-minute level. I don't want to test them out. Oh, well, let's put that up there. You got your title, man. Let me put your title up there. See, Alexis Holtz, there you go. There you go. We try to raise that up there. And,
so just a quick brush. I know you got about 15 minutes. A quick brush.
And by the way, I want to remember, there's a comment here that says, remind us who your guests are. So you got Alexis Coates, there's the word there. And you got Granville Templeton III, who is his partner and who is a very prominent attorney in Baltimore. So there you go. Actually, those are comments that are coming in. One of the things too, I can have all that prefab, to be honest. Let's say, for instance, I knew you guys both were coming on, I could have it already, the graphic, to be able to launch it, so just to do it, in and out. So there's something too, for just a mental note. I'm talking out loud on live TV. So go ahead,
let me address your question about the travel to China. The government and the second largest mobile company in China they invited us, and they paid for us to come to China because we were buying a large quantity of tablets we created called One Square Book. It was an Android tablet, had our own software on it, everything. We were pretty excited about it. We actually are the Steve Jobs of our own Android tablet. We really are. So,
what part of China was that?
Fuzhou.
Fuzhou, and we were Shenzhen and Fuzhou, but we traveled a couple other places within China.
So we flew into Shanghai, but they're located in Fuzhou.
Yeah.
And then we went to Shenzhen. So we went to 4 of their factories out there. One was in Shenzhen, and another ones were close to where their home base was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was pretty exciting, and we negotiated. We were attempting to sell our school specific software. We had one conversation about hardware. We wanted to build additional hardware, but there was an issue with the glass that we needed for those laptops, the quantity, right? Mm-hmm. Then we were talking about selling the software, which is educational software, which digitized education, which is One Square Box software. And we wanted to sell that to the country, the people of the education system of China. Mm-hmm. And we negotiated with them, and I think they might have asked us, hey, won't you give us access to your software, a whole bunch of other things. But we negotiated with them for about a month or so with the intent to sell. And then they had us tour all their factories, and so we could see all the products that would come with One Square Book software, our hardware we had. But it was a pretty exciting trip. I think we were there for like 10 days or something, give or take something. We were there for a while, and the government.
What made you pick China? There wasn't any local option, here in the United States?
Not to build tablets. So all of the manufacturers, even Apple, and at the time Google was doing. I don't know if you remember, there was a Google tablet that came out on Christmas. So the factory that we were doing business with, they were doing the Google tablet, and they didn't want to tell us that. I guess there was they probably couldn't tell us. But when we were walking through the factory and they said they're doing over 1 million tablets in like 4 weeks, we knew exactly what they were doing. And a couple months later, we saw the advertisements on TV. So we knew what they were doing. But everybody uses these factories in China. And what they do is they have separate manufacturers that do the glass, that do the computer chips, that do everything that's inside of it. So what we did was we configured it the way we wanted. We designed how the outside we wanted it to look, what kind of camera we wanted, how the back should look. So we were trying to get to a point where we could go straight to the individual manufacturers, but obviously they were trying to guard those. But we got to visit some of those individual, glass manufacturers. We saw that some of the chips were made for all of our phones, when we were over there. So we didn't have there's no one here in the United States that does that type of manufacturing. Now, let's just talk to you more about how the factories look. how dark they were, how people were looking through, magnifying glasses, the security that we saw when we were there. It's just a different type of situation, which is probably too expensive to do here in the United States.
Yep. So Nate, when we traveled there, we would go to these factories that would be protected by, almost insulated like by a town, but have massive security barriers. And they were producing anywhere from 500 to 1,000 tablets. And the funny thing is we had to put these white suits on, these white jumpers on. So it was for sensitivity or whatever. And we would travel to the factories and none of the lights would be on in these places that we would go to. They brought us into the belly of their business because with the intent that we were going to move large quantities of tablets and the sensitivity. Now, the floors were very clean in the factory and building up the components for the tablets was real sensitive. People, I would imagine that would be a real strain on a person to constantly hold their head down and constantly add these components individually to these tablets. But they were putting them out, 500 to 1,000, putting glass on them. So it was pretty exciting the way they treated us there. And they treated us very well, I have to honestly say. I mean, we got really good royalty treatment. When we were there, we had security. It was very interesting, right? China's a very interesting place. But it was a good experience for us to get exposure to.
Now, when you say you got really good treatment, it's almost like you're implicitly you're saying as opposed to what might be here in the United States.
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
I mean, to the extent we can get into more of, the outward appearance and the treatment, and then the product that you get. And this is the experience that we give other people when doing business abroad. The products that we ask for and put in writing, did it match with the product that we received? Did they switch certain components out? Like these are a lot of, we learned so much, Nate, through this experience. And when you're dealing with somebody on the other side of the world and they switch a component out that you specifically asked for, what's your recourse? Right. How much money does it cost to fight them? Are there IP laws that protect us or not? There's a lot that we learned through this process.
Well, again, that's my point from earlier. Now that you've learned it didn't, some things didn't quite pan out. It's time to reinvent the process, to reiterate, and do it again. Do something, with all that knowledge that you guys have learned. It'd be a shame to waste that whole knowledge you gained that kind of went from the idea to the trip to China to a product that they actually developed on your behalf. Despite the fact that business didn't continue at the rate that it started, it'd be a shame to waste that experience and not come back with something, even stronger, even bigger.
Yep, I agree. And when we continue to talk about that, about reinventing ourselves and coming back, and one square box product can be rebuilt. The school software was pretty advanced in technology, just the software side of it, right? And we still think it could be a viable product, right? We're still excited. We're still bullish on it, that we think it can be a viable product in the market, and that it can not only just be a viable product, but it can really help students sort of close that gap with technology. We still think that world is out there to close that gap, and we're pretty excited about what could happen going forward. So
now,
Nate, we can use some of your advice, Nate, because your business acumen and your experience is unbelievable, Nate. And that's why we always think it's comfortable to sit and talk with you and hear some of your experiences from growing your businesses, and how we all still can come together and still figure out a way to grow these businesses that we all have. When we need each other to all work together, at the end of the day, greater good.
Well, happy to do it. Before I take the big dirt bath, I want to make sure I pass load as much as possible. But also, I don't want to get away without you being able to mention BBR chats, because I think that's an outstanding concept.
Okay, Reverend, you want to?
Oh yeah, so I'm general counsel for Black Business Review also, and so one of the other products that Mr. Coates is doing is called BBR Chats. It's similar to a TED Talk, but it's going to be a series that focuses on the issues that some of us really, really want to hear. Like some of the things that we're talking about now, a lot of people want to hear these things. But the experiences from us, we want to put those out there from, we call them conscious thought leaders, people that are thought leaders in our community and in the world, but also are conscious to some of the issues that different groups and minorities go through when it comes to business. And some of the issues have to do with lack of experience, lack of leadership and leaders and mentors. And that's why, Nate, it's so important for people to watch what you're doing now, because you've been through a lot. You've been through, taking a company public. These are things that we think of and we have no idea how to do. We said, we want to take a company public. What does that entail? Like, we have no idea. But we need people that have been through these processes, people that have had good things and bad things happen to come and tell us, what to look out for. So these MBBR chats are going to hit a lot of these issues, and it's going to be done in a very professional format. It's going to be similar to, TED Talks.
TED Talks, that's right.
Talking, but it's going to be done a little bit different. With a little twist.
Well, I'm excited about it. I'm also excited to help by broadcasting some of those things. So I think it's a great idea. But guys, I'm going to end up the show here. It's really a pleasure to have you guys in this final hour to help me kind of get through it. And thank you all for all the help and assistance in just getting things started here. And we look forward to the next time we get together. So signing off and thank you and see you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. on morning.